Our hypersensitive, scorched earth, cancel culture approach to reacting to homophobia clearly has not and is not working. If we don't focus on building our own validation and building our own self respect from within the community rather than trying to wrest it by force from others, we can expect the backlash represented by Duran's shirt sales to continue and to get a whole lot worse.
Welcome, everyone, to another LGB Alliance USA weekly news roundup. We are here with Carol, Tim, and me, Ariane. First, a summary of this week's news. First, a settlement was reached in James Esses' case against his former psychology training institute. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons backs away from pediatric gender transition surgeries. The United States chapter of Women's Declaration International has filed its first amicus brief before the U.S. Supreme Court. A milestone was reached in a gay rights custody case in China. And finally, there is a run on the Jarren Duran jersey sales as the player returns from a 2-day suspension over using a homophobic slur. So, first, I'm going to start by talking about the James Esses case. So, James Esses has reached a settlement with Metanoia, which is a UK-based training institute for psychology therapists, so people who are into psychotherapy and such. James was expelled from Metanoia while pursuing a master's degree in psychotherapy over 3 years ago after speaking about the impact of gender ideology on child safeguarding. In their statement, Metanoia acknowledges that, quote unquote, the changing policy landscape in their field, and also points to the CAS review as well as the UK Council for Psychotherapy's withdrawal from the 2017 Memorandum of Understanding on Conversion Therapy. The statement also acknowledges the importance of free speech and the fact that the Institute violated its own guidelines on due process by expelling James. We are grateful for the outcome of this case and can only hope that American educational institutions will show similar commitment to quality scientific evidence and freedom of expression. Now, moving on to the story about the American Society of Plastic Surgeons. So, the American Society of Plastic Surgeons, which represents 92% of plastic surgeons in the United States, has told Lior Sapir, who is writing for the City Journal, that it has, quote unquote, not endorsed any organization's practice recommendations for the treatment of adolescents with gender dysphoria. The American Society of Plastic Surgeons also acknowledges that there is, quote unquote, considerable uncertainty as to the long-term efficacy for the use of chest and genital surgical interventions, and that the, quote unquote, existing evidence base is viewed as low quality and low certainty. Now, this is huge because this would make the American Society of Plastic Surgeons the first major medical organization in the US to break with the so-called consensus over pediatric gender transition. It would bring the US more in line with the standards of care offered in many other Western countries. As Lior Sapir's article points out, minors under the age of 18 are already banned from undergoing double mastectomies in Belgium, Finland, Germany, Luxembourg, Sweden, the UK, and 3 Canadian provinces. So this is a step in the right direction, and we'll see how or if other American medical associations will follow. And with that, I'll give it over to you, Carol.
Thank you, Ariane. So this week, the United States chapter of Women's Declaration International, WDI, filed its first Supreme Court friend of the court brief in the case of Little versus Hillcox. According to the Turf Report with Kara Dancy on Substack, the case involves Bradley Little, the governor of Idaho, who in 2020 signed a law mandating that all schools in the state of Idaho maintain single-sex sports. And Lindsay Hillcox, a man who identifies as a woman, who's represented by the ACLU, filed suit. Headcox claims that Idaho's law violates his right under Title IX and the Equality Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. The Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit ruled in favor of Headcox. Bradley Little has asked the Supreme Court to take up this case. The WDI brief likewise asked the court to take up this case in an effort to settle the many conflicting and confusing rulings we have seen in recent years from our nation's courts on this topic. Here is a quote from WDI's brief. Quote, WDI USA is interested in this appeal first because, as an organization, we cannot protect women and girls from sex discrimination, invasions of their sexual privacy, and violence against women and girls if sex is redefined to mean an amorphous continuum of subjectively felt genders that may not be related to sex at all. We will keep everyone up to date on this story as it unfolds, and we wish them luck in this. And now we go over to Tim.
Thanks, Carol. So we have a significant legal development out of China. It's a nation where gay rights have been met with ongoing challenges. In a landmark case, a Beijing court has granted visitation rights to a woman in a same-sex relationship, recognizing for the first time that a child can have two legal mothers. This ruling comes amid an evolving yet still highly restrictive legal environment for gays and lesbians in China. The woman, who's referred to as Didi for privacy, has been embroiled in a custody battle since 2019 after her relationship with her wife dissolved. The two women, who were married in the United States, had two children through IVF. Now, Didi gave birth to a daughter and her wife gave birth to a son. After their separation, Didi's wife took both children to live in Beijing, severing all contact between Didi and her children. The court's recent decision allows Didi to visit her daughter once a month, marking a precedent in China's legal system by recognizing her as a legal parent. However, the ruling doesn't extend to her son, highlighting the complexities and limitations within the current legal framework regarding same-sex families. While this case is being hailed as a significant step toward gay rights forward by gay rights advocates, it also underscores the ongoing struggles for legal recognition and rights in China. China's laws predominantly recognize children as being born into heterosexual marriages, leaving same-sex couples with limited legal protections. Despite increasing social acceptance, as well as is reflected in recent surveys, legal advancements remain slow and uncertain in the nation. Now, for Didi, this partial victory is a crucial step in her fight to be acknowledged as a parent to both of her children. The case is gaining attention in legal circles and on social media in China, with many seeing it as a potential turning point in the recognition of gay families. So here's a developing story from Major League Baseball. Boston Red Sox outfielder Jarren Duran is making headlines for an incident during Sunday's game against the Houston Astros. Duran was caught on camera using an anti-gay slur in response to a heckling fan. The remark came as Duran stepped up to the plate in the sixth inning, responding to a fan who taunted him by saying he needed a tennis racket. Duran quickly issued a public apology, acknowledging that he used what he called a truly horrific word. He expressed regret for disappointing his fans, the Red Sox organization, and most importantly, the gay community. Now, in his statement, Duran admitted that he fell far short of his responsibility as a role model. As a result of his actions, the 27-year-old was handed a 2-game suspension by Major League Baseball. Duran's game checks from Monday and Tuesday will be donated to PFLAG. It's a nonprofit organization that supports the gay community. Despite the controversy, Duran's popularity appears to be soaring. His jersey is now the top-selling item on the MLB's online shop, surpassing even those of baseball superstar Shohei Ohtani. This surge in jersey sales mirrors similar situations in sports, where athletes who have been embroiled in controversy actually saw their merchandise fly off the shelves. Duran has had a breakout year, earning his first All-Star selection and leading the majors with 13 triples. His performance on the field remains impressive, with a 291 batting average and 36 doubles, leading the American League. I've got a note here, my main reaction to this, which has been to notice how, in spite of Duran's apology, the LGBTQ plus press has been enthusiastically calling for severe punishments, up to and including termination for this guy. Now, one noteworthy example is a gay sports outlet, Outsports, which called for a 20-game suspension plus sensitivity training. just falling short of asking for Duran to be fired. Now, in the tradition of not during Pride Month, Outsports, among others, called for Duran's crude language not only for its called out Duran's crude language not only for its own insensitivity, but also for the fact that he used the F slur just days after the death of famed gay outfielder Billy Beane at 60. A life that itself should be observed and celebrated by its own merits. So here's the deal. Our hypersensitive, scorched earth, cancel culture approach to reacting to homophobia clearly has not and is not working. If we don't focus on building our own validation and building our own self respect from within the community rather than trying to wrest it by force from others, we can expect the backlash represented by Duran's shirt sales to continue and to get a whole lot worse. What do y'all think?
I agree with you pretty much. And also I don't, is anybody surprised that a jock used the bad gay F word? I mean, like, this is not necessarily a shocker, maybe because I'm older. I mean, this is, but look, he said it. That's unprofessional. He should be, get in some trouble for it. But this whole going after him, like he went out and hate crimed somebody is just ridiculous. Like, and you're right about the backlash. Like, I think the jersey sales might be an indication of already backlash happening against the quote LGBTQ community for really mandating a lot of unnecessary stuff, like the whole pronoun thing and the whole trans thing and the whole men or women thing. And I mean, everybody's just getting sick of it, I think.
Yeah, I mean, my reaction when I heard this story, I hadn't heard it before you brought it up, Tim. And before you brought it up, I was wondering, oh, did he say this on the field? Did he say this on social media or whatever? Because to me, when you say something like that on the field, that sort of, it's not just your personal life sort of business. You are sort of representing the team.
Yeah.
And I think the team has a right to censor, has a right to keep its players under a certain protocol of conduct.
Sure.
So it's not entirely unreasonable to do something about it, even if it might be that the sensible thing to do is to just tell him, here's just a warning, don't do this again, or something like that. But clearly jumping the gun about suspending him from games is, it's not succeeding in having the intended approach of the intended effect, reducing homophobia. It sounds like it's simply getting backlash. So I don't know what a more reasonable approach would have been. Maybe just approaching him about, like, don't do this again, and not making it a news story.
Yeah, well,
right.
I don't even necessarily have a problem with the 2-game suspension thing. I mean, that to me seems relatively measured, and I think also anybody who's been an athlete also knows that. Look, I'm not trying to excuse anything that this guy said by any means, and I think that that's a really ugly word, and I hate it, and I think that some sort of censure is merited here. But in the heat of the moment, I don't think that necessarily reflects a deep homophobia on his part, and I think again, I think that it shows a lack of self-respect if we are so desperate for other people to let blood over any offense against us collectively.
I'd be curious what the penalties are for other things.
Yeah.
Like, how does this penalty that he got relate to other things that might have been done to get in trouble? Do you know anything about, like,
I don't,
fight or something else said,
Right.
Because that matters too in context of what happened. Is the punishment on level with that, saying something inappropriate?
Absolutely. I mean, and the extent to which that sort of, I mean, is it just a reflector of the times? And I know that we're becoming more sensitive, and again, to an extent, that sensitivity is good, but I don't think that we are. Look, we're clearly learning in real time that these methods aren't working. Us just being hysterical and us just wanting people to be fired or wanting people to be punished. I think you're right, Carol, when you said that this is sort of this is a reaction to a collective set of agenda items or a collective set of tactics that that people are sick of. And so, and the scary thing to me is what's next? Because right now it's just a bunch of people showing up and buying a jersey. And I think that we have
Yeah.
every reason to be girding ourselves for something worse and preparing against it.
Yeah, and I think the backlash comes from, generally speaking, I see backlash against homosexuality, and I think that's coming because the LGBTQ big orgs, and I hate to say the community because everybody's different in there, right? But the big orgs that are running the show have definitely overstepped boundaries. They've overstepped other people's boundaries, other organizations' boundaries, just, and no one likes that. No one likes that. So I think that's what's happening. People are like, look, don't come in my house and tell me what to do. Right? You can tell me what to do if I'm, at the store, but don't come in my house and tell me what to do. That's what I think it feels like.
Which is what we want too. That was the whole point with us. Leave us alone. That was the whole idea of gay liberation. Like, don't get in my business. Leave us alone.
Sorry. And I also was really struck by the comment about like he was supposed to donate. He donated money to PFLAG or whatever.
Oh God,
and
that's not helping us.
Don't do us any favors, please. Yeah.
It sort of is like the modern equivalent, secular equivalent of doing indulgences.
Indulgences.
Oh, damn, that's true.
People would
so smart.
buy indulgences from the Catholic Church to absolve themselves of some sin, and now like you've committed the sin against the holy LGBTQ plus, and so you have to pay these organizations who are already wealthy.
It feels like that, doesn't it? It really does feel like a religion that's taken over, and like, don't do that. No one likes that.
You're also like, when I saw PFLAG, I was like, can we vote at least on that?
I know.
I gotta say,
I'm like, great, more money to transition kids. Woo!
Yeah, exactly. Just what we need.
Yeah. So we're curious if any of you out there have any thoughts on this story or any of the other stories we've covered. Please let us know in the comment section. We're curious to hear multiple perspectives on this issue. Otherwise, that's all we have for today. Thank you for watching this week's LGBT Alliance USA News Roundup. We would also like to add that we have restarted our monthly newsletter, which tells readers of our upcoming events as well as our recent videos and articles. If you aren't already signed up, go to our website, lgbausa.org, and go to Get Involved on the top bar and select Join Our Mailing List. Also note that the link to make a donation to us is on the front page of our website. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and remember to like and subscribe.